Good morning, students. We know that a process scheduler schedules different processes to be assigned to the CPU based on a particular scheduling algorithm. There are different popular scheduling algorithms which are going to be discussed into this unit. There are different types of algorithm which are used to schedule the different processes that are executed into the operating system. That algorithms include first come first served algorithm, that is FCFS scheduling. Next, shortest job first scheduling. Then next, shortest remaining time next algorithm. Next, priority scheduling algorithm. Next, round robin scheduling algorithm, and last one, the multi-level queue scheduling algorithm. These are the different types of algorithm present in the operating system. In the last lecture, we are discussed about the FCFS algorithm and SJF algorithm. Now, in this lecture, we will start our next scheduling algorithm, that is shortest remaining time next algorithm. The name itself tells that shortest remaining time next means the process whose remaining runtime is shortest, that process is served first. And this is a preemptive version of SJF, that means shortest job first scheduling. Let's see the description of this algorithm. Shortest remaining time next, that is SRTN scheduling algorithm. SRTN scheduling algorithm is a preemptive form of SJF scheduling algorithm. SRTN is the preemptive form of shortest job first scheduling algorithm. So, it is also known as shortest time to go, that is STG algorithm. SRTN is a scheduling discipline in which the next scheduling entity, a job or a process, is selected on a basis of the shortest remaining execution time. Here, in this type of scheduling, the process is selected from the queue where the condition is that process is selected on the basis of their remaining execution time. If that execution time is shortest among all the processes, then that process is allocated to the CPU. That means in this algorithm, a job is chosen whose remaining time is shortest. Here, in this type of algorithm, here a process or a job is chosen whose remaining execution time is the shortest. For a new job, its runtime is compared with remaining time of the current job. If any new process or a new job coming into the queue, then at that time the runtime is compared with the remaining time of the current job. And if a new job needs less time to complete than the current job, then the current job execution is stopped or blocked, and the new job or the new process is allocated to CPU and the new job is running. This is a shortest remaining time next algorithm. In short, when a new process arrives, then its total time is compared to the current process remaining runtime. And if the new job needs less time to finish than the current process, then the current process is suspended and new job is started. Let's see the example. In this example, suppose there are 4 processes that are P1, P2, P3 and P4. These are the 4 processes in the operating system and their respective arrival time is given here, and here is an CPU burst. That means each process having somewhat its utilization period. That utilization period, that means the process burst time is given below. For process P1 there is an burst time total 7 millisecond. For the process P2 5 millisecond is the burst time. For the process P3 there is an 2 millisecond is a burst time for the process P3, and process P4 having a burst time 3 millisecond. Now this example process scheduling is done by using the SRTN, that means shortest remaining time next algorithm. Here is an Gantt chart for this example. For this scheduling, here is a Gantt chart is represent. How the Gantt chart is prepared? See, first at the time movement 0 at a initial state, first in a CPU process P1 is occurred. First process P1 is coming. So here at the time movement 0 the process P1 execution is started. But within a execution the process P1 is executed for a 1 millisecond. At that time another process P2 is coming, and that process P2 having a less time for the execution. Process P2's CPU burst, that means process P2 wants less or shortest time to complete its execution as compared to P1, because P1 process having a CPU burst time for execution of that particular process P1 is 7, and for the process P2 requires 5 milliseconds to complete its execution. So in this case P2 having a shortest execution time, so here P1 process execution is blocked or suspended and the execution of P2 process is started. Again, while executing P2 process, there at the next moment the P3 process arrives whose execution time is less as compared to process P2. So here the control transfer to the P3 process because it requires the 2 millisecond, which is lesser or shortest than the process P2. So here CPU allocated for P2 process. But while execution another one process arrived, that is process P4, but it having a total time required for its execution is 3 millisecond, but the execution time for the P3 requires lesser than the process P4. The process P3 requires shortest time as compared to P4 process. So here P3 process execution is completely done. Then after that it checks next shortest time. What is the next shortest time for the process, which is the shorter one? Process P4 execution time is shorter than P1 and P2. So here process P4 is executed first. After that CPU checks the next shortest execution time. There are two processes P1 and P2. CPU compares both processes. P1 process executed for 1 millisecond, so it remaining time of process P1 is 6 millisecond, and there is another one process P2 which is executed for 1 millisecond and which remaining 4 millisecond for completely execution. So here P2 process is executed first because the P2 process execution time is 4 and P1 process execution time remaining is 6. So here P2 requires shortest time as compared to P1 process. Here P2 process execution time is lesser than process P1. So here first P2 process is executed and after that P1 process is executed. This is an Gantt chart by using the SRTL algorithm. Now we are calculating a average waiting time and average turnaround time for the processes. First we are finding a average waiting time. For calculating average, we want to calculate the waiting time for each process. First we are calculating a waiting time for P1 process. P1 is equals to 11 minus 1. Why 11? Because here see P1 process. P1 process started or P1 process is in waiting state until 11 because at the 11 millisecond time the P1 process started its execution. So here P1 is waiting for 11 millisecond, but here minus 1. Why minus 1? Because at first time the P1 process is executed for 1 millisecond. So here 11 minus 1, that is 10. Next for P2 process, here is an P2 process is executed same way 2 times because first it executed for 1 millisecond, after that P3 arrives which having a shortest execution time as compared to P2. So here P2 is executed for 2 times. So here we are calculating waiting time for P2. What is the waiting time for the P2? P2 process waits for 7 millisecond. So here 7 minus 2. Why 2? Because here at 2 millisecond process P2 is already executed. So here 7 minus 2. Next P3 process. P3 process execution starts from 2 millisecond and it completed within a 2 at once. So here 2 minus 2. Same way process P4. Process P4 is also executed at once because here execution of P4 started at 4 millisecond and it executes within a 4. So 4 minus 4, 0, and P4 arrival time is 4. So 4 minus 4, 0. Now we are now the average is calculated. How the average is calculated? Sum divided by 4. The total sum of waiting time divided by 4. So here we get 3.75 millisecond as a average waiting time for this example. Now we are calculating a average turnaround time. Turnaround time means turnaround time is the interval from submission of a process to a time of completion. That is turnaround time. So here turnaround time for the P1 process is 17 minus 0. Next for process P2, that is 11 minus 1. Next for P3 process 4 minus 2, and for P4 process 7 minus 3. So here average is sum divided by 4, that is 17 plus 10 plus 2 plus 4 divided by 4 because there are total 4 processes for their execution. This is the example of SRTL algorithm. The next algorithm of the scheduling is round robin scheduling algorithm. Let's see the round robin scheduling algorithm. The name of the algorithm comes from the round robin principle. The name of the scheduling, the name of this scheduling comes from the round robin principle, where each person gets an equal share of something in turns. In this type of algorithm, each process or each person gets an equal share of something in turning or in a circular manner. It is the oldest, simplest scheduling algorithm which is mostly used for multitasking. this algorithm, round robin algorithm, is mostly used in multitasking environment. Round robin scheduling algorithm is specially used for time sharing system. It is quick like FCFS, but only difference is that in RR algorithm, preemption is added to switch one process to another process. The working of round robin scheduling algorithm is same like first come first serve algorithm, but here preemption is added for switching one process to another process among CPU. Here a small unit of time is called as time quantum or time slice. Here is an one unit of a time, that unit we called as either time quantum or time slice. And in this method, a ready queue is considered and treated as a circular queue. You know the circular queue? In a circular queue, the different nodes are connected into a circular manner. The same data structure is used in this type of algorithm. The CPU scheduler takes round along a ready queue and allocates CPU to each and every process for a time interval up to one time quantum. Here the CPU or a scheduler take a one circle into a ready queue and allocates the CPU for each process for a particular common interval time. For implementation of round robin algorithm, the processes are kept in FIFO order, that means first in first out order, and the new processes are added to a tail, that is a last position of a ready queue. Here in a round robin algorithm, each process is kept into FIFO order, that means the process which comes first, that process is allocated to the head, and the new process is always added to the tail of that particular queue, that means in a last position. In RR algorithm, in round robin algorithm, the scheduler picks one job. Here a scheduler gets one job and assigns the CPU and execute its execution within a particular time slice or within a particular time quantum. But here in this case there are two possibilities. First one is if time quantum of a processor is greater than a process burst time, then process itself releases CPU, otherwise interrupts the CPU. If the time quantum of the processor is greater than the CPU burst time, then the process itself releases the CPU after its execution. But in the second case, then the CPU stops the execution and process is shifted to the tail of the ready queue. And after this, the scheduler selects a next job for the execution. After execution of first job is done, the CPU takes the next job for its execution. Let's see one example. In this example, there are three processes in a operating system. By using a round robin algorithm, we are schedule these processes as following way. Here we are considering a time quantum is of 4 milliseconds. Here we considered a time unit, that is time quantum or a time slice, as a 4 millisecond. So here by using a round robin algorithm, the Gantt chart is shown here. Here are total three processes P1, P2 and P3, and for the P1 process there is a burst time 24 millisecond. For process P2 there is an 3 millisecond time, and for the process P3 there is an also 3 millisecond time. Here Gantt chart for this example is shown. In the Gantt chart, the process execution always starts for the 0th millisecond where CPU is idle. For the 0th movement, first the P1 process taken for the execution. Our time quantum is 4 millisecond. So up to 4 millisecond process P1 is executed. After that, the execution of process P1 is blocked or suspended. Then the control will be transferred to the process P2. Up to 4 millisecond process P2 is executed, but the burst time of the process P2 is 3. So up to 3 millisecond, that is 4 to 7, the process P2 is executed. Then next afterwards the CPU is allocated to process P3. Here P3 process also having a burst time 3. So for the 3 millisecond, that is 7 to 10, the process P3 is executed. Here in this example, each process is provided a fixed time to execute, and this time we called as an quantum. Here we defined a quantum of 4 milliseconds. So here each process is executed for a 4 millisecond, that is defined time period, and it is preempted and other process executes for a given time period. It is a round robin algorithm. But here after execution of P3 process, again the P1 process is taken for the execution. Then afterward P1 process again executed for 4 millisecond because our time quantum is 4 millisecond. So here 10 to 14, that means 4 millisecond P1 process is executed. After that again for 4 millisecond again P1 process is executed. After that again 4 millisecond until the execution of process P1, the process CPU is allocated for the process P1. If here in this example, if the process P2 having a time period as a 7 millisecond, so in that case first process P2 is executed for 4 millisecond, and after that again process P2 is executed for 3 millisecond. Here for all the processes the CPU is allocated for a fixed time. Here CPU is shared among a multiple processes for defined time quantum. Then here we are calculating a average waiting time and average turnaround time for the process. For the process P1, 10 minus 4. Why 10 minus 4? Because here is an 10, but execution of process P1 is there first ended with 4. So here 10 minus 4. Then for process P2 waits for only 4 millisecond. After 4 millisecond execution of P2 process successfully completed. So here is an only 4. Same way process P3 requires waiting for 7 millisecond to their successful execution. So here P3 process requires 7. So average is 5.66. So average waiting time for these processes by using round robin algorithm is 5.66. Next we are calculating a average turnaround time. Average turnaround time is for process P1 is 30 because at 30 millisecond the process P1 execution is ended. It successfully executes. So here turnaround time is 30. Next for the P2 process 7. How the turnaround time is represented? The turnaround time denotes the interval from time of submission of a process to a time of completion. Here the time of submission for all the process considered 0. So here for the process P1 the turnaround time is 30 minus 0 because here completion of the process is done minus submission of all the process considered as 0. So here 30 minus 0 for the process P2. Process P2 is successfully completed at 7 millisecond. So 7 minus 0, and for the P3 process is successfully executed at 10 milliseconds. So here 10 minus 0. Here why 0 is considered? Here in this example we are considered all the processes are arrived at a same time, that is time 0. This is the example of round robin algorithm. In short, a round robin is a preemptive process scheduling algorithm, and here each process is provided a fixed time to execute, and this time we called as a time quantum or a time slice. And once a process is executed for a given time period, then it is preempted and other process executes for a given time period. So here context switching is used to save the states of preempted process. This is a round robin algorithm. Then the next type of scheduling is the priority scheduling. Priority scheduling is a method of scheduling processes that is based on priority. In the type of priority scheduling algorithm, each process having its own priority, and depending on that process priority, the scheduling is done. In this algorithm, the scheduler selects the task or the job to work as per their priority. Here the scheduler selects a job or selects a process for a execution depends on a priority. The processes with higher priority should be carried out first. Here the process which having a higher priority, that process is selected first, whereas jobs with equal priorities are carried out on a round robin or FCFS basis. Suppose in this type, if the two process having a similar priority, if a two process having a same priority, then at that time, depending on a round robin algorithm or the basis of FCFS scheduling algorithm, the job or the process is selected for the execution. That means the which process is coming first into the CPU or come into a first into a ready queue, that process is selected first among that two same priority processes. And a priority depends upon a memory requirement, time requirement, etc. In a operating system, always priority is defined by using the processes, memory requirement, time requirement, IO requirement, etc. But there are two types of priority scheduling. First one is the preemptive scheduling and second one is the non-preemptive scheduling. In a preemptive scheduling, the task, that means processes, are mostly assigned with their priorities. Sometimes it is important to run a task with a higher priority before another lower priority task, even if the lower priority task is still running. Then the lower priority task or the lower priority process holds for some time and resumes when the higher priority task finishes its execution. But in the case of non-preemptive scheduling, the CPU has been allocated to a defined specific process. The process that keeps CPU busy will release the CPU either by switching context or the terminating. In short, in a priority based scheduling, each process is assigned a priority. Here, each process having its own priority, and a process with highest priority is to be executed first, and so on. The process which having a highest priority, that process is executed first. But the processes with the same priority are executed on first come first served basis. And suppose if two processes having a similar priority, then the decision is taken depend on a FCFS basis. That means first come first served basis. That means the process which come first, that process is executed first. And in a priority scheduling, the priority can be decided based on a memory requirement, time requirement, and any other resource requirement of that particular process. Let's see one example. In this example, there are 5 processes: P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5. And their respective burst time is given here. For the process P1, the total burst time is for the process P1 is 10. So here 10 millisecond is required for execution of P1 process. Next, the burst time for the P2 is the 1 millisecond. Next, burst time for the process P3 is the 2 millisecond. For the process P4, the burst time is 1 millisecond, and for the process P5, the burst time, that means utilization time of the CPU, that means execution time required for the process 5 is of 5 millisecond. And then here priority is given for the process. Process P1 having a priority 3, process P2 is having priority 1, P3 process having priority 4, P4 process having priority 5, and P5 process having priority 2. Observe this table. So, in this example, first process P2 is executed first. Here, process P2 is executed first. Why? The priority of process P1 is first. The process P1 having a first priority. So, process P2 having a first priority. So, here P2 process is executed first. The total burst time for the P2 process is 1 millisecond. So, for 1 millisecond, process P2 is executed first. Then after that, after execution of process P2, next priority is 2. After 1 there is an 2. So, second priority for the process is P5. So, P5 process is executed next. The utilization time for the P5 process is 5. So, 1 to 6 millisecond up to 5 millisecond, the process P5 is executed. After process execution of process P5, then P1 process is executed. Why? Because priority is 3. After that, P1 process is executed. The burst time for the P1 process is 10. So, for up to 10 millisecond, process P1 is executed. The next priority is for the process P3, because it having a priority 4. So, P3 process requires 2 millisecond for its execution. So, up to 2 millisecond. Next 2 millisecond, process P3 is executed. And then at last P4 process is executed because it having a 5 priority. Last priority process is P4 process. So, at last P4 process is executed. What is the burst time for that P4 process? 1 millisecond. So, up to 1 millisecond P4 process is executed. This is the Gantt chart for this example by using a priority scheduling. Now we are calculating a average waiting time and turnaround time. The waiting time for the process P1 is 6 because process P1 execution starts after 6 millisecond. So P1 process is waiting up to 6 milliseconds. So here waiting time for the process P1 is 6. For the process P2, 0 because first process P2 is started because execution of P2 process is started because P2 process having a first priority. So it having a no waiting time, so it is 0. Next, for the process P3, process P3 is waiting up to 16 millisecond. After 16 millisecond, the execution of P3 will started. So waiting time for the P3 process is 16. Next, for the P4 process is lastly executed. P4 process started its execution after 18 milliseconds. So 18 is the waiting time for the process P4. Next, P5 process is waiting up to 1 millisecond after P2's execution complete. Next, P5 process is taken for the execution. So up to 1 millisecond process P5 is in waiting state. This is a waiting time for each process. Now we are calculating average. How to calculate average? Sum divided by number of processes. So here we get the average waiting time as 8. Now we are calculating a average turnaround time. For the process P1, turnaround time for the process P1 is 16. Here execution is completed. Next, process P2, 1, process P3, 18, process P4, 19, process P5, 6. We know that the turnaround time defines the interval from the submission of a process to a time of completion. P1 process is completed at the time 16. So here 16. For P2 process completed at time movement 1. P3 process is completed at time movement 18. P4 process is completed at time movement 19 and P5 process is completed at the time movement 6. So here is an average waiting time. We are getting 12 millisecond. This is an round robin algorithm and priority scheduling algorithm. And the priority scheduling algorithm is mostly used in a batch processes. And in a priority scheduling, a number is assigned to each process that denotes the priority level. And in this type of scheduling algorithm, if a newer process arrives that having a higher priority than a currently running process, then the currently running process is preempted. The execution of a currently running process is stopped and the new process is taken for the execution. This is a priority scheduling algorithm. These are the characteristics of priority scheduling. See the characteristics. Okay, thank you.